My family doesn't know they're part of a cult. When I got the call that my mother was sick, I hadn't been home in 7 years. I left when I was 18. Ran, really. Something about our small mountain town never felt right. The people were too kind, the smiles too wide, the prayers too long. I came back expecting discomfort, but what I found was silence. The town looked the same, like it had been preserved in amber. No gas station, no cell service, no outsiders. And my family? Too happy to see me? Too normal. "You've gotten so thin," my mother said, placing a hand on my cheek. "We'll fatten you up. You'll feel better once you're clean again." Clean? That night after dinner, they took me to the church. Except it wasn't a church anymore. They called it the Center of Returning. No crosses, no pews, just black stone walls, candles, and a wide circular pit in the center of the floor. I watched my father, stoic, tough, logical, step forward and drop a strand of his own hair into the pit. Then my mother, my sister, my cousin, all of them whispered the same phrase, "I will return what was taken." Then they looked at me, smiling. "Your turn, Jonah," my sister said. My hands shook. I dropped the hair. The pit breathed. That night I couldn't sleep. I snuck into my old bedroom closet and pulled out the shoebox. I hid when I was 16. Inside were cassette tapes, notes, diary pages, all from me. I had forgotten about them, repressed them. One tape had a label. "Do not listen if they're awake." I played it. My voice, young, terrified, came through. "If you're hearing this, you escaped. But you came back. Don't trust them. Don't drink anything. Don't eat the bread. They don't know what they are. The offering is coming. And you're the key." Then, a scream, I scream. And static. The next day, the town held a festival. Only they didn't call it that. They called it the Night of Unburdening. White robes. Painted symbols. Bonfires at the forest's edge. They dressed me in linen. They kissed my forehead. They sang a hymn in a language that felt older than words. "Why are you doing this?" I asked my mother, trembling. "What are we unburdening?" "The soul," she said, smiling. "The thing you lost when you left." The crowd parted. A man in antlers Ida stepped from the trees. 7 feet tall. No eyes, no mouth. Ida pointed at me. The offering. I didn't wait. I ran. Into the woods. Past the stone altars. Past the carved faces in the trees. I heard my name in the wind. I heard footsteps behind me that didn't match any human stride. I made it to the edge of the mountain trail and collapsed. A hiker found me. He thought I was high, delirious. He drove me to a ranger station. They'd never heard of the town. No Hollow Glen, no Whitestone Chapel, no returning center. Nothing on the map. But I still have the tape. And sometimes late at night, my phone buzzes with unknown numbers. No one speaks on the line. They just breathe. A week ago, I got a package. No return address. Inside was a photograph. My family, still smiling, still dressed in white. And in the background, a new figure. Me. Every time I wake up, my apartment is slightly different. At first, I thought I was just forgetful. I woke up Tuesday morning and the light switch was on the wrong side of the bedroom. I swore it used to be on the left. I chalked it up to a bad memory, stress, long work hours. But then, the next day, my fridge opened the other way. The handle was on the left now, not the right. I'd lived in this apartment for 4 years. I knew my fridge. I had muscle memory for it. I checked old photos on my phone. In every one of them, the fridge handle was on the right. Something was wrong. Over the next week, it kept happening. Minor changes, but unmistakable. My rug had a new pattern. The faucet knobs were swapped. Hot became cold. My bedroom window suddenly had 4 panes instead of 3. I asked my super. He said he hadn't touched a thing. I asked my neighbors. They looked confused. Didn't your place always look like that? But it hadn't. I knew it hadn't. One night, I stayed up. Tried to catch the change. I dozed off around 3 a.m. on the couch. When I woke up, the entire hallway had shifted left. My bathroom was gone. In its place, a blank wall. I started documenting everything. Photos, voice memos, floor sketches. And every morning I'd compare. And every morning something would be off. My coffee table was darker. The kitchen clock ticked backward. But the worst came when I looked in the mirror. I had a freckle on my jawline that I'd never had before. My left canine tooth was slightly longer. and my reflection smiled a second too late. That night, I smashed every mirror in the apartment. But in one of the shards, I swear I saw my reflection. Still standing upright, smiling after I'd walked away. I woke up one morning and there was a new door. Small, narrow, wedged between the coat closet and the kitchen wall. A door that had never existed before. It had no handle, just a keyhole. And next to it, taped to the wall, a note. Do not sleep. I started drinking coffee, energy drinks. Anything to stay awake, but no matter what I did, I would black out. Microsleeps. Instant unconsciousness. And every time I came back, the world was worse. The sky outside turned a color I can't describe. The elevator button had 7 floors, but my building only has 4. My neighbor, Mrs. Geller, now has no face. No eyes, no mouth. Just skin stretched tight like plastic wrap. She still waves at me every morning. Last night, I finally opened the door. I don't remember finding a key. I just had it. Inside was a staircase. Down. I descended for what felt like hours. The walls grew organic, veiny, pulsing like I was inside something alive. At the bottom, a room. A single chair. And in it, me, asleep, hooked up to wires. Heart monitors, IV bags. A screen labeled, Simulation 1472, threshold approaching. The other me opened his eyes. You shouldn't be here, he said. Where am I asked. Between the dream and the reset. You were never meant to wake up. Then he smiled. And everything blinked out. I woke up. In my bed. Sunlight through the blinds. Everything looked normal. Fridge handle correct. Light switch on the left. My freckle gone. But there was one difference. In the mirror, behind me, I saw the other me. Still smiling. Still watching. She invited me to dinner, but no one else was alive. I got the invitation on a Tuesday. It was handwritten, sealed in wax, and tucked inside my mailbox with no return address. Dear Elliot, it's been too long. Please come to dinner this Saturday at 7 p.m. I've missed our conversations. With warmth. Mara. My hands trembled. Mara Whitlock had been dead for over a year. I had attended her funeral myself. She was my former professor in folklore and mythology. Strange, brilliant, the kind of woman who wore black veils in daylight and spoke about death like it was a house guest. We hadn't talked in years. She'd disappeared into her estate after retiring, said the world was too loud, too fast. Then she died in what everyone called a peaceful sleep. So why was I being invited to dinner? And why did the envelope smell faintly of lavender and rot? I should have burned the letter, but I didn't. Curiosity always outweighed fear in me, which is probably why I ended up driving 2 hours north to Hollow Vale, a place that hadn't been on a map since the 1800s. I arrived just before dusk. The mansion stood like a fossil of time. Ivy-choked windows, wrought iron gates bent like broken limbs, and an eerie hum vibrating in the air like cicadas that had forgotten the season. The door opened before I knocked. And there she stood. Mara. Same pale face, same gray-streaked hair coiled neatly, same deep green dress with the obsidian brooch. Except her eyes were too still, too glassy, and she didn't blink. Elliot, she smiled, voice like cold silk. You came, how lovely. The dining hall was dimly lit, long and ancient. A massive table stretched across the room, candles flickering along its spine. There were 10 seats. 9 were occupied. At first, I thought I was late and everyone had started without me. But then I looked closer. None of them were eating. None of them were moving. Each guest was dressed in funeral attire. Men in crumbling tuxedos, women in faded dresses. Their skin was sallow, waxen, heads slightly bowed like they had fallen asleep. Or like they had died sitting up. You remember Professor Garland, don't you? Mara asked, gesturing to the man with half-missing lips. And this is dear Adelaide. She taught Latin. They've all missed you so much. I couldn't speak. I just stared, heart thundering, mouth dry. And then one of them twitched. I tried to leave. I stood and turned, but the door had vanished. In its place was a stone wall, smooth and cold. It's rude, Mara said gently, to leave before the meal is served. The room darkened. The candles hissed. Mara stepped forward and took my hand. It felt like paper soaked in ice water. You've always been the curious one, Elliot, she said. Always chasing legends. Well, tonight you'll become one. She pulled a rusted knife from beneath the table. And the guests began to sing. Low, guttural, in a language I didn't understand but somehow felt. Mara, I gasped, backing away. What is this? It's a passage, she said calmly. A banquet for the forgotten. A binding of souls. You were the final seat, Elliot. And then they all looked at me. Dead eyes, sunken cheeks, smiling mouths that had no breath behind them. I lunged for the window. Glass shattered, wood screamed, and I tumbled into the overgrown garden, slicing my arm open on a thorned bush. I didn't stop. I ran. I ran until my lungs burned and my skin turned numb, until I reached the road and collapsed beneath a flickering street lamp. A passing driver found me. He didn't believe a word I said, of course. No one did. But I still have the scar. And I still have the invitation tucked in a drawer. The ink hasn't faded. But now there's a new line at the bottom. We missed you again, Elliot. Please don't be late next time. We saved your seat.